Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. Morena, morena.
Want to feel your chi in less than 30 seconds? Yeah. Try this with me. Rub your fingernails back and forth together. These are the ends of your meridian.
Okay. If you don't turn the YouTube off, it goes into an automatic playlist. But interesting times. I just want to read out to you the press release that the Outdoors and Freedom Party has put up. So I'm just going to bring that up. And then I want to play another video for you, just so that you understand what privilege is all about, because I get a few sensitive people that come onto my page. I'm a Māori activist. I will always stand up for my people, and unless you've walked a mile in my shoes, or unless you've spent a day in my shoes, you actually won't understand. But I just want to share the press release from the Outdoors and Freedom Party, and then I'm going to play a video that explains in a $100 race. It's really brilliant, exactly what privilege looks like, because it's a lot harder to share it. But this video clip is absolutely awesome. But anyway, this is the press release from the Outdoors and Freedom Party, and it's to do with Sam Uffendell, who won the Tauranga by-election. And this is what happens when You don't disclose if there's some stuff sitting behind you. You don't disclose what that is. And, I hear the kōrero, he was only 16. However, the child that he beat up on, you don't know how as a victim, how that can impact on you if you've been a survivor of assault. And so everybody's protecting the perpetrator, but what about the victim? And he actually goes on to say that he bullied a lot of people, and now there's stuff coming out that there are other incidences as well. What concerns me is yes, and I know that people can grow and people can learn, and that people should be able to be given a second chance. Here's the issue that I have with our Māori, and I know because I've advocated in this space for whānau, and I've advocated in this space in my role as an advocate. When a Māori boy breaks the law, he is dealt to quite harshly, thrown in Borstal, or youth prison, right? And if he's over the age of 17, and this boy was only 16, so he wasn't far from 17. If he's over the age of 17, he gets a record. And so Māori can use up, they go on about the 3-strike rule, and we know that it's oppressive when it comes, because the 3-strike rule impacts on the brown boy, right? Not on the white boy, because usually with Pākehā, like Sam, as an example, they get away with it. There's a deal made at the other end, and they don't have a strike record, right? And that's my point. But I just want to read the Outdoors and Freedom Party press release. It says Sam Uffendell should resign or be sacked, and a new election held at National's expense. The New Zealand Outdoors and Freedom Party demand the National Party sack newly elected Sam Uffendell and pay for a new election, giving the people of Tauranga a fair vote, said Alan Simmons, president of the party. The people of Tauranga surely would not have been so keen to elect a school bully who was given a rich boy's alternative to being expelled from school after beating a much younger boy with a wooden bed legs. That's a serious assault. Okay. It's extremely concerning that national selection process appear to select according to their rich white boy profile rather than values and character of a candidate. And that, folks, is white privilege. And I've had a few of you come on my page and say, Donna, if you're going to push that white privilege, then I'm not going to support you. Well, I'm sorry. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's a good thing, because you have to feel uncomfortable to understand that privilege is happening. Rich white boys are getting away with things that poor brown boys would never get away with. And then I'm going to show you this video, so hopefully you can understand how that happens. Okay, anyway, I'll carry on. This is a brilliant article and press release from Alan Simmons, our president of the Outdoors and Freedom Party. Had his story have been admitted to voters, the Tauranga by-elections results would surely have been different. Simmons went on to say that the Outdoors and Freedom Party candidate Sue Gray campaigned on honesty, truth, transparency, and accountability. If the election process had given equal access to all candidates, and we knew back then, and we know now, that there wasn't equal access to our democracy, and they, the Labour, National and ACT boys, now, because this was at the end of the day, boy-girls club, but, the boys club, we're protecting their status quo. And that's privilege again, folks, because the smaller parties were not given the same opportunities as those established parties. And that's not democracy. And yet they stood there and they stood up on and saying that they uphold democracy when in the same breath they weren't. So, that's talking with forked tongues. But anyway, I'll carry on because I do digress. So the elections would surely have been different. Simmons went on to say that the Outdoors and Freedom Party candidate Sue Gray campaigned on honesty, truth, transparency, and accountability. If the election process had given equal access to all candidates, people would have been able to learn who had the qualities and life experience to deliver for the public of New Zealand and who was simply there to perpetuate the status quo. Point taken. Sue Gray was refused entry into important public debates. Uffendell was invited to all, but clearly was never challenged sufficiently by the debaters, was never challenged sufficiently by the debates or National Party selection process to expose his tarnished history. Despite this, Sue Gray gained 4.99%. That's 5%, whānau. That's actual. So what I put up in my post yesterday is there's a margin of error of 3% plus or 3% minus what actually is the what actually comes up in that particular survey. That's the margin of error. Either way, right? Either way it goes. So you say the Māori Party was on 4%. Either way, they could have been at 1% or at 7% at either way. And that's if they usually take it on. If they did 100 of the same survey, the margin of error is 3%. That's how that works. So when they talk about minor parties being on 1% or whatever percent, what the president was trying to highlight in the results yesterday is that you can't tell me that the Outdoors and Freedom Party did not get one support when Sue Gray is supported all around the country. So when we have rogue polls, how often do we have these rogue polls? And are these rogue polls, are polls good anyway, or are they just part of the propaganda machine? Just to prompt people, because if you prompt people enough, they're going to end up voting that way anyway. And there's a lot of science behind all of that. So they've done, sociologists and psychologists and all of that have, there's a bit of science behind surveys that if you promote, that's propaganda, and in a way it's a form of brainwashing. But if you promote a certain party after a while, that self-prophecy happens, eh? But anyway, despite this, Sue Gray gained 4.99% or 5% of the vote. Sue Gray said the voters deserve much better. We cannot keep allowing these franchise parties to protect their own to the detriment of the public who they are elected to represent. It's time for Sam and National to step up and display some integrity by standing down. We need members of Parliament with leadership skills to create a new style of politics and move on from the nasty bullying that seems endemic in New Zealand. And that's the end of their press release. And some of you may or may not know that I'm a workplace bullying expert, and I can tell you that bullying is systemic in Wellington. It is a major problem for our own government to not have proper. So over in Victoria and Australia, it's actually a criminal offence to bully. It causes a lot of harm. It can cause heart attacks, strokes. People are suicidal and people have committed suicide. And I know this because I've worked in the space, written up reports for the government in this space. So workplace bullying, and that's even class, even if you're volunteering your time to churches, to schools and all of that, it's still classed as workplace bullying. Is at a pandemic itself here in Aotearoa. Why? Because the bullying has started from the very top. If we look at what Jacinda Ardern has done to this country with the coercion and the mandates, that's bullying right from the top, folks. So anyway, brilliant press release. Now I'm going to share and I'm going to mute. So let me know if you can't hear it, but I'm going to mute to share this next video. Watch this video, please. It's brilliant.
Line up. Line up. Everybody line up. We're about to race. Everybody line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Take off your backpacks. Basketball, line up. We're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. A $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing you've done has put you in the lead that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set, go! If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
Wow, how powerful was that? Oh, I've just deleted it. Sorry, I delete them because then the YouTube plays the next list along and it comes up. But I'll have a look for it and I'll put it up on my page. Absolutely powerful, and I wanted to play that so you understand, one, what privilege is, and two, what white privilege is, right? And that and it happens all around the world. Okay, I'm not using this as an excuse. I'm using this as a tool to educate and inform. So when Māori say that the Sam Uffendells have had privileges along the way, that's what we're trying to explain. He did nothing to get that privilege. It just is what it is, right? Right? And then the Māori boy of the same age, if he had done that, well, talking about King's College, my nephew won a scholarship at King's College, and the scholarship was worth $35,000 a year. So and his sponsor was sponsoring 5 boys a year. A lot of money, a lot of wealthy people out there, and it was a real privilege. And we used to attend his games at King's College, and it is definitely a very privileged school. And these schools get state and private funding, and I have an issue about that because a lot of our state schools were closed down and a lot of the funding was shifted into these very, very wealthy schools. They're already privileged and they have millions and millions of dollars in their bank account. They shouldn't be able to access the public purse. That further entrenches that privilege. So just because there were comments that come up when I used the word white privilege, and I knew that these people did not understand what it comes across as a derogative term, but it actually happens, and that person had done nothing to be way ahead of the game, and that's the Sam, the national leader, National Party candidate, for the guy that won the Tauranga by-election, Sam Uffendell. He comes from absolute white boys, wealthy privilege. And these are the types of people that are going to be representing us. And also, like even we have Māori privileges as well. We have Māori elite. We have Māori born into privilege. It's not just the white privilege, but when it comes to looking at the our Māori community and our Pākehā community, there is a lot of privilege that Māori don't have access. The average Māori doesn't have access to the same privileges. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. We're talking about equity here. And then when our social services and our providers and the resources aren't shared out equitably, that means that we still don't have access to even to the ability of being able to make a difference. So when I was in the Māori Party, out of the social budget, Māori got 0.3%. And there were Pākehā organisations enriching themselves off of our mamai, of our pain. This is in the social service space, and we've always argued that Māori, and same with communities. So it's the same thing. What's good for Māori is good for our communities, but we've always argued that Māori know how to take care of Māori, the same way as that our communities know how to take care of our communities. I mean, I'm running for mayor in Hamilton City Council because in our own city we have communities of the haves and communities of the have-nots. I've seen my own park be pulled down where we had swings, slides, seesaws, roundabouts. We had all of that, and we've got children in every whare in our community, and the council did not even come around and talk to us. They did not have public meetings over it. They just pulled our park down. Yes, they added a basketball court, but our babies have nowhere to go. We have to travel into the wealthier side of town, even in Hamilton West, to go to the more established parks. So there's an issue of equity even within our council, and I know our mayor currently has been trying to promote that there be more equity shared in poorer communities, but that's only just the current issue. And it so happens that we've got an election happening, and it so happens that you've got someone like me running. And the reason why I'm running for mayor, I mean, there's no guarantees whatsoever that I'm going to win the mayoral run. But the reason why I've decided to run for mayor is to put those sorts of issues on the table so that we can openly debate and discuss them. And then the Māori ward, so I'm running in the Māori ward, and thus far there's only one other person that's running in the Māori ward. And when it comes to workload and ethics and stuff like that, I've got visitors whānau, so I'm gonna switch off. There's another video that I want to share, which is separate to the conversation that we've just had. But if you put your hand up, you've got to first have done the work previously. You can't come in a privileged position, be you Māori or Pākehā, in a privileged position and then say vote for me because you think that I'm the right person to show that that should represent you, when you actually haven't done a lot of the hard yards behind the scene. And a lot of people do that. They run off the backs of other people's hard work. So make sure whānau, that when your candidates put their hand up, you say, okay, what have you done for this community over the last little while? For example, I fought hard for the Māori wards. I went in and submitted both orally and in writing. I campaigned on changing some of the names, like Bryce Street, who was part of a genocide against my own tupuna. So, I campaigned and door knocked. So when we have people that are going to go up against people like me, you have a right to know, what did you do to deserve getting the nod for, me giving you the vote? What have you done? And ask them. It's your right to know. What have you done to deserve my vote? But anyway, whānau, I've got a number of people that have just turned up to see me, so I'm going to do another live because I want to do another video. But I just need to make it really clear what privilege looks like. And I'll read some of your comments later, and we'll have another kōrero on this, because I don't think this issue is going to go away. Kia pai tō rā, we'll catch up soon. Tā kite.